What up, everybody? It's Frank Muller, back at it again with another video today. You're watching Level Up, Double Down, where we don't play around unless it's video games. Now, before we begin, I wanted to make an announcement by letting you guys know since the last video that this channel has officially crossed the 100 subscribers mark, and without you, this milestone would have never been achieved. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys who either subscribed to the channel, liked one of my videos, made a comment, or shared a video of mine, because all that activity leads to the growth of this channel. However, we still got more work to do. According to YouTube's analytics, 97% of you guys who watch my videos are not even subscribed, which is a sad state of affairs. So, if this video was helpful for you, subscribing to the channel is the best way to support my work and see more content like it. So I hope I can earn your support today. And if you're already subscribed to the channel, then I want to express my deepest appreciation for your gesture. So, from here on out, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I hope to see you along for the ride. So with that out the way, let's go ahead and get things started. On today's episode, not only will I be reviewing the Dispico, but I'll also be pairing it up against another Flashcart, which I'll get into later. So, for those of you who aren't aware, a Flashcart is a device that's molded into the shape of a cartridge for a retro game console it's intended to be used for, and it contains a circuit board encased inside of it with an SD card slot attached, which is designed to allow the user to load games, also known as ROMs, onto flash-based storage like a micro SD card that function on various systems like the Nintendo DS and the Game Boy Advance, which are handhelds, or even an N64 and the Super Nintendo, eliminating the need to use original physical media. The DSpico is the first ever open source flashcard compatible with the DS, and it's also compatible with both the DSi and the 3DS. However, I don't own a DSi, so I can't personally make any determination on that console's compatibility. But that's what's being claimed by the developers of this cart. Speaking of which, shout out to Team LNH, who are responsible for releasing this exquisite piece of hardware while making the blueprints available on GitHub, so anybody, whether they be a hobbyist or even a manufacturer, are able to build their own for personal or commercial use. The layout of their documentation is very thorough and organized, making it straightforward and easy to follow, which is a testament to their professionalism. Now, before we proceed, full disclaimer, this Dispico I'll be presenting to you today, I bought with my own funds. I'm not being paid to review this flashcard, nor am I being sponsored for this video. All the opinions I express here are my own, and no one's influencing this review that I'll be providing, nor seeing it ahead of time, so there's no shilling on my part. So with that out the way, let the games begin. Now, I purchased my Dispico all the way back in January for around $14 before shipping during one of the AliExpress month-wide sales, which gives you the opportunity to take advantage of promo codes for you to use on items you're purchasing if it's eligible in order to apply a discount. However, that depends on the item's price if it meets that threshold. Basically, this flashcard has a Raspberry Pi RP2040 crammed inside of it, which was no ordinary feat. I'm beginning to notice how hobbyists and enthusiasts in the retro gaming community are coming up with ingenious ways to prolong, or better yet renew, the lifespan of older gaming console hardware from yesteryear while giving them a chance to stretch their legs. Case in point, I modified one of my GameCube consoles using a Raspberry Pi Pico by soldering it to the console's motherboard in order to install unsupported firmware such as Swiss that allows me to run GameCube games or ROMs from a micro SD card through an SD2 SP2, which allows me to bypass the need to play my games on the disk drive outright. To take it a step further, you can also run homebrew software, which are called DOLs, DOL, to play emulators from older lightweight game consoles that came before it. But before I start getting lost in the weeds, let's rein things in a little bit and get back on topic. Now, my Dispico didn't come included with a micro SD card since I opted out of buying that option so I could save myself money, so I didn't receive one. Now, if you're the type of person who doesn't want to spend the time scouting the internet to download the relevant files and firmware to configure your own micro SD card, then by all means, don't torture yourself like I'm doing. Just go for the option that includes the pre-configured micro SD card. It should at least work out of the box without needing to do any kind of prep work or apply any kind of updates to start using it. Speaking of updates, the Flashcart includes a micro USB port for that functionality. To update the firmware, you just remove the SD card from the Flashcart and connect the Flashcart to a PC using a micro USB cable that comes included in the package, followed by dragging and dropping any firmware update files at the root of the drive directory. Now, if you intend to make your own custom setup using your own personal SD card, then bear in mind it must be formatted in FAT32. I'm hearing that micro SD cards with storage capacities of 128 gigabytes and below will work just fine with the Flashcart, but any micro SD cards above that amount will probably require you to update the firmware. A really cool tool that I use in Windows to format my micro SD cards with sizes above 64 gigabytes, since it's not supported within Windows File Explorer, is called FAT32 Format GUI, which is easy to find using Google. Alright, so during the time I was attempting to prep my SD card in order to get the necessary boot files installed on it, I realized that according to the instructions outlined in LNH's setup guide on GitHub, it requires that you use the Linux operating system to compile the DSpico bootloader alongside a Pico Launcher. And from what I've gathered, the Pico Launcher is a front end to launch the homebrew applications while the DSpico is in use. Having to install Linux just to generate the files I need, ain't nobody got time for that. So I opted for the next best option, Reddit. So I came across this Reddit thread, which happened to be one of my first Google search results, and it was pretty enlightening. A few of the users on Reddit already had pre-built packages available for download containing the boot files necessary for the Pico Launcher to load with the proper file structure intact, which was awesome. And in addition to that, they provided different flavors of firmware to choose from that you would flash your DSpico with according to your current situation based on whether or not your console had been modded. So, after familiarizing myself with the DSpico's inner workings, I started downloading the appropriate files based on my current situation. I opted for the WR-FUXT-no auto NTR UFT firmware file since my Nintendo DS isn't modded, but I did soft mod my Nintendo 3DS all the way back in 2017 using the Luma 3DS custom firmware, which is only limited to my SD card I have stored in my Nintendo 3DS's card slot, which I plan to remove while testing out the DSpico. Now, the steps I'm taking to set up my DSpico aren't meant to be construed as a comprehensive guide, so keep that in mind. For anyone who added the pre-configured SD card with their DSpico purchase, be aware that they will not ship with any games, so you're still being forced to source your own game ROMs. Now, if you watched my last video, then that should have given you some clue or indication as to where you can find games to download. So go back and watch my latest video throughout its entirety after you get done with this one. And pay close attention to the websites I visit on screen. I've already downloaded my own preferred game ROM set of DS game titles years ago. However, I keep them stored in a folder called Games on my micro SD card. Now here's where things get interesting. For those of you who aren't aware, over the years, developers from the community have created emulators that were specifically made to be ran from the Nintendo DS Flashcard, and this is not exclusive to just the DSpico. Rather than being limited to just playing Nintendo DS and Game Boy Advance game ROMs on a DS Lite or DSi, there's a handful of emulators that you can install on the DSpico, such as the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Sega Genesis and Game Gear, SNES, and NES emulators, just to name a few. For your viewing pleasure, pause, I'll be showcasing on screen regarding how I have them organized and the folder structure that I apply to them. Basically, I have a main folder called ROMs, and inside that folder, I created subfolders that are using a short form name for each console I installed emulators for, so whenever I copy over game ROMs, they'll be separated based on the console they belong to. For your convenience, I'll be including links to both the GitHub of Team LNH along with their direct website. Also, there will be links to the Reddit thread I referenced earlier, and if you're interested in buying a DSpico for yourself, I'll also be providing a link to the seller's page on AliExpress, where I purchased my DSpico from, down in the video description below. And no, I don't get any kind of kickback or perks for directing you their way, so there's that. Earlier, I had referenced a Flashcart that I wanted to pair up against the DSpico, and if you've been paying attention, I'm pretty sure you're probably familiar with this Flashcart, and it's one of the OGs that walked so the DSpico could run. And that Flashcart I'm talking about is an Acekard 2i, old to me, but probably new to you. Just to make a long story short, I purchased this Acekard 2i from China all the way back in 2013, and I remember it took about 3 weeks for it to arrive on my doorstep, way before AliExpress became a household name. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I configured the bootloader and all of the relevant files installed on my Acekard 2i flashcard way back when, which was around 13 years ago, so I'd be hard-pressed to remember exactly how I set everything up on this flashcard. Now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, let me give you guys a quick overview regarding what the OS for the DSpico looks like as it compares to the Acekard 2i. One of the most noteworthy features pertaining to the Dispico is that it supports DSi-specific games and hardware features which no other Nintendo DS Flashcard has been able to do prior to the release of the Dispico. In order to demonstrate this functionality, I'll be running a few DSiWare games using my Nintendo 3DS that I have sitting next to me. One of the drawbacks to the Dispico is that it does not support save states, which I believe is an inherent flaw, even on the Acekard 2i as well. However, due to the Dispico's open source nature, there may be a chance that a feature like save states may become a reality and implemented as part of a future firmware update. To my understanding, this type of capability isn't available on any other flashcards predating the release of the Dispico. With that being said, I'm hopeful for what the future has in store for the Dispico, but what worries me is the viability of a niche product such as a flashcard for a console that Nintendo has abandoned since 2014, potentially getting left on the back burner. In other words, community support is paramount for the longevity of the Dispico, which is the one unpredictable variable that won't become immediately apparent until time runs its course. What would be a shame is if the Dispico went the way of the dinosaur like all the other Nintendo DS flashcards before it without tapping into its full potential, which would definitely be a missed opportunity. Not to sound all doom and gloom, but I've seen this movie before and we all know how it goes. I'm just being realistic, keeping my expectations in check so I don't get disappointed. One last thing since we're on the topic of flashcards. What I have in front of me is supposedly a legendary flashcard for the Nintendo 3DS, the R4i SDHC, which I got from Newegg of all places back in 2019. However, I never got a chance to actually use it since I have a tendency to buy things impulsively if I find them cheap enough, but due to that notion, I'll put things off indefinitely and never come back to it, which is a bad habit of mine. Since this video is getting kind of long, let me know in the comments. Would you like for me to do a review on the R4i flashcard for the 3DS? I'll let you guys decide what I should do next. So, as I wrap up this video, feel free to let me know in the comments. What were your thoughts about the presentation I gave? If you're interested in this type of content as it relates to flashcards and modifying antiquated game consoles, hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell icon to turn on all of your notifications so you don't miss a thing. And also, if you made it this far into the video, I want to sincerely thank you for watching. So until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Again, this is Frank Mula signing out. Holla at me.